this is the end of Chapter 4. We have word problems as usual. You're going to need to use everything that you've learned from Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 to help you solve these word problems. So the word problem we have today says Kim has 48 plants in her garden. Of the 48 plants, 2/3 are carrots and 1/4 are tomatoes. The rest of the plants are pumpkins. How many pumpkin plants are in the garden? So as you can see, I've already kind of highlighted or put boxes around some important information. I want you to think back to Chapter 3 and how we would figure out how many pumpkin plants are in the whole garden. And to do that, we have to figure out how many carrot and tomato plants that we have. So I know that we have 2/3, which are carrots of the whole garden, and 1/4 of the whole garden, which are tomatoes. So I'm going to add my 2/3 and 1/4 together to tell me how many carrots and tomato plants make up the whole garden. I have to find a common denominator because we cannot add 2/3 and 1/4, and your least common multiple is going to be 12. So 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 times 4 is 8, making 2/3 8/12. 4 times 3 is 12, so 1 times 3 is 3, making 1/4 3/12. Now, I add 8/12 plus 3/12 together to get 11/12. And this tells me how many carrots and tomatoes are in the whole garden. Think back to Chapter 3. When we had one whole garden, we have to figure out now how many actual pumpkin plants there are. So if I have one whole, and I know that 11/12 of that whole are carrots and tomatoes, if we subtract 11/12 from the whole, that will tell us how many pumpkin plants there are. Well, if you think one whole, and we're subtracting 11/12, your one whole as a fraction is going to look like 12/12. And now we can subtract that. 12/12 minus 11/12 is actually, let me come up here, that's going to give us 1/12, which represents the pumpkin plants. Now, back to my original problem. It says that she has 48 plants in her garden. So now that we know 48 of the 48 plants, 1/12 are pumpkin plants. So to figure out how many actual pumpkin plants we have, we're going to need to multiply. So I'm going to get a new whiteboard and a new color. I'm going to use orange since pumpkins are orange. Okay, we have 48 total plants, and I know that 1/12 of those 48 are pumpkin plants. So we're going to multiply. And in order to multiply, I'm going to need to change my 48 whole number into an improper fraction. So I'm going to make this 48 over 1. And now we can multiply. But before I do that, I'm going to look at my opposites to see if we can do any kind of reducing. I see 48, and I see 12. And I know that 12 can actually go into 48 4 times. 12 goes into 12 1 time. So if we multiply now, we get 4 times 1, which is 4, and 1 times 1, which is 1. So out of the whole garden of 48 plants, 4 are pumpkin plants. Not very many. And there's your answer.